Everybody, welcome back to the Daddy Knows Best channel. We're going to have a quick video today, a quickie as we could say, and I wanted to show y'all this short. I altered this short. I made my own variation of it, and I'm kind of proud to say that, you know, I threw a bunch of short videos up there. I experimented. You know, I had some fun, and I was able to, you know, have 600,000 views. Am I getting paid for that? No. Is it my original content? No. But it was still fun to see that I could get that many views and that it's helped build my channel up just a little bit. But I wanted to show you all this, and I wanted to talk about what's going on here, and make this a little bit of a shorter video. But let's watch this, and, you know, it's probably fake. People have talked about that. No, these people don't, you know, they're not playing the game correctly. There's a little game that's going on here. We'll talk about it for a second.
You have an OnlyFans account?
Who wants ice cream?
Okay, so obviously they don't understand how the bet goes. You know, if she accepts the money, you know, she shouldn't have accepted it. I mean, because she admitted, you know, to it. She either takes... I think y'all understand. It's a really basic premise. You either win or you lose. You know, is she going to admit that she has an OnlyFans or not? That's the game. Anyways, what's going on over here is something that is becoming pretty common. You know, I just talked to somebody and they figured out that their niece had an OnlyFans, and it's becoming very common, and our society is changing. Now, there's an older generation of people who don't like the internet, who think that the internet is optional, that, you know, they don't understand or won't accept that the whole economy is based off the internet. Even before the internet, it was based on, you know, cell phones and fax machines. And that's how the, you know, the people who actually make business run, you know, the business leaders, the people who actually organize businesses, who own businesses, who, you know, make things happen in this world, you know, people who actually own things, that's how they worked. So let's get back to the point of this message here. So this person has an OnlyFans. You know, we're not going to talk about if she's beautiful or not. Some people out there would think she's drop dead gorgeous, and some people have complained and said that she's not that attractive. I'm not here to talk about if she's not. You know, OnlyFans, there's all kinds of different strokes for different folks. People are attracted to all kinds of different people. That's not what that's not the topic here. I think a lot of people get distracted by a lot of different things. Again, the people here don't understand the game. This short is probably fake. I do think it's really funny that the mom or the grandma here says ice cream at the end. Like, anybody want to go get ice cream? Like, trying to de-escalate the possible issue here. But what the real issue here is that our culture is changing, and that there's consequences. Now, you know, being on the internet, the real debate is being on the internet the same as human interaction that's in person? I think that's the real discussion. I think that's the real issue. I think that's the real thing that we need to talk about. Is you having a chat or an internet girlfriend, somebody who talks to you because you pay a subscription fee, somebody who gives you a girlfriend-like experience where you get to see pictures. You know, you don't get to see it, really see anything in person. You don't really get to touch anything. You don't get to have love. You're most certainly not building up a family. You're not really having a real relationship. Again, a lot of these men think that they have a actual relationship. They're looking for some form of connection and some form of love, and they're not getting it. So is this healthy is really what we need to be talking about, and no. OnlyFans essentially is making women see relationships in a money type of way. And this has been a problem for a long time. And yes, women can do whatever they want. Yes, women are strong, etc., etc. And, you know, this career of selling yourself out one way or another, it's people say it's the oldest career that's ever existed. You know, it's the oldest thing that's ever existed. You know, because before man, you know, you could argue, even went out there to work, you know, he wanted something from a woman, and the woman would, you know, we're talking hypothetically like caveman back in the day. The woman said she, would say she wanted fruit or wanted something or wanted protection or fire, something. Anyways, relationships and love and personal sacrifice on the woman's side is almost non-existent. And now more and more women are looking for how they can, distance themselves, from a personal relationship where there might be commitment to one guy or a couple guys. In the past, even the quote unquote red pill people talk about hypergamy and monkey branching, where a woman, it's very hard to find a single woman. Even, 10, 20, 30 years ago, a woman always is dating somebody, always is taking advantage of a situation, even if she's looking for the next best thing. A woman doesn't get anything or doesn't get much of any advantage if she's just single and just out on her own. So she would always be looking for the next best thing. That's why, women start 70, almost 80% of all these divorces. And they're getting all these benefits and all these things. So, again, we could talk about if this is going to fulfill women or not. It seems that the further we go along, again, I'm not saying technology was a mistake. It's not. It's an opportunity. It's a tool. But we can't be using it as a mediator or a segue or something in between real human interaction, real debates, real discussion. Social media has torn all of that apart. And some people have criticized the anger that some of this can cause, or the drama or the opinions. That's not really the problem. The problem is, authenticity. And some people try to freak out and control the internet and try to remove all the privacy. No, the privacy of things is not the problem. The problem is people choosing not to be authentic, just like how people in our modern day choose not to be responsible for their own emotions. You have to give them trigger warnings. You have to be responsible for their own, thoughts and even actions. And the people constantly use the internet. Not the internet. Our government and our legal system to also get rid of their own personal accountability. And tear apart anything that's basic, human civility, just like the Me Too movement, where you have to believe a woman and a man is guilty, and you have to bypass or disregard or destroy our whole entire legal system. You just believe a woman because she can accuse or say whatever she wants to say in the moment. It goes back to that emotion. Being completely logical is bad as well. And that with things like Star Wars and Spock, before they destroyed Star Trek, he was a very curious creature, a very amazing creature, or a character or persona. Again, Spock is a Vulcan. He's an alien species. And he's surprising to so many people because he's humanoid. He's similar to a human, but yet they think very, very rationally, and they almost don't even have the ability to feel. That's, they don't really have human emotions really at all, and they certainly don't act on their emotions. But that can be dangerous as well. That can lead us to do dangerous science experiments and not to consider the humanity and the damages and the hurt and all kinds of terrible consequences. But there's also, our modern society will not acknowledge, and we're not on the extreme logical side. Our society is on the extreme emotional side of things. We're on the complete opposite side of the world or issue. And we continue to go down this, CNN wants to talk about rabbit hole where you find information and do your own research on YouTube or whatever. They want to control what you can find and what you can even see. But it's normal, for people to get wrapped up in emotions and to scream and to yell and to destroy and to demand and to shift responsibility on anyone and everyone for almost anything. Again, with this fat acceptance movement and all these other things, these are clearly where people reject science and health and all kinds of things. So again, getting back to OnlyFans here, I'm just making some comparisons to get us in the right frame of mind here with our thought and our thinking. With this OnlyFans here, this kind of stuff is only going to continue. This is how it seems that the people who pull the strings want our society to go. And it's going to lead to further depopulation, less marriages, less families, and people are going to try to figure out how different ways to express themselves. We're going to have less and less people have any type of human interaction in person. It's going to become the minority. It's actually going to become rare or almost strange that somebody has an interaction one-on-one with somebody. If this continues, we might get to a dystopian future where if you get too close to somebody, then the electronics that you have, maybe they're implants, maybe they're in your body, they stop you from doing anything if you don't have the right permissions, or if you both haven't consented to, certain forms of legal agreements or interactions. We're getting to the point where it's, they're trying to make marriages or relationships between men and women where they have a family and children, the stereotypical family, the nuclear family, as some people would say, they're trying to make that a minority. I mean, remember that we had a group of people, when all these people started attacking and pressuring for, trans and trying to attack people that, you would reject to date a trans person, and that trans, that they were also fighting and demanding that they would make it a crime if you, refuse to date them, and that they don't even have to tell you that they're trans to begin with. That's a whole nother issue. If somebody's legally liable to tell you their gender or their orientation, perhaps men need to start asking people what they were born as. But if you do, we're going to have a hate police and government hate organizations that can throw you in jail and fine and punish you. And if you get reported and they already look for this kind of stuff through the internet and through your cell phone and electronics, I mean, corporations certainly won't hire you, and you'll be excluded for jobs and positions and advancements. Your social credit score will go down, So what can we as men do about this? I mean, you can't ask somebody what their original gender was. You can't figure out if they're trans or not. Do you have to take a risk in marrying somebody and they're not even able to have children? We'll talk about some of the solutions here in a second. But another big issue in this is not open transparency. Supposedly we have studies that tell us, little feminist talking points and things people want to hear. But where are the real studies with the, how this kind of stuff is affecting society? Because a lot of these initiatives and a lot of the things that are happening right now ultimately are making people less happy. And essentially people are having less human interaction, less conversation face to face, less human interaction, fewer relationships, fewer marriages, fewer kids, etc., etc. And ultimately, these globalist types of people want there to be less population so they can have greater forms of control. And people want outlets. They want to feel like they're connected. They want to feel like they're accepted. It's a pretty basic human condition to want to feel like you're a part of or incorporated or accepted into some kind of family or into some kind of community. And I say these things not because I hate the trans or the LGBT or whatever identity some of these people are. I don't. You're free to do as you wish, and I completely respect that. But I'm bringing this up because, again, I was born in the 90s, and even as a 90s kid, these types of people were going to local libraries. Kids were being conditioned to accept or to acknowledge, different types of beliefs based on, what was taught in public schools and little plays and with their little stories. And I wasn't even raised in a daycare, so these kids are literally, their mom and dad are both working, or maybe a lot of people these days are raised by single mothers who are putting them in daycare. And even if the father, even if you do have a traditional family where a father is around, the father is, doesn't teach kids, doesn't even teach their sons any skills or abilities. The father themselves probably doesn't have any tools or doesn't have any logic. And a lot of these fathers are only in the picture not because they really love the kids, or not really because they care about the kids. It's just because they want to be there, for that woman, and because they like that woman and their own pleasure. They're essentially a slave to their to pleasure. And that tension and that stress of doing what the woman wants and getting their next fix. They're like drug addicts in a way. And so you're going to have men, who realize all these problems and separate themselves from this. But so they're going to have even less human interaction as well. So the people who can't separate themselves, who can't find inner peace, or who don't want to go through that stress, they don't want to acknowledge that, all these crazy things. That's why they tend to accept what's comforting, what makes them feel good. They accept the pop music that tells them that they're perfect and all these things. They watch their little Disney movies and they feel good about themselves. And then they put themselves in this perpetual, state of childhood where they can't accept where they've done anything wrong and that other people have done anything wrong, or if anybody offends them or isn't doing the same thing as them, that's when somebody's wrong. If somebody brings awareness, that they might not be perfect, that's when somebody's a problem. When somebody isn't, fighting for quote unquote somebody else's, what they call rights with these trans and other missions, but they don't think about the consequences. They don't care about the consequences and how it's going to change society and personal accountability and all these types of things. So, the really sad thing is there's the fathers who would oppose this kind of stuff. They're divorced. They're kicked out of the picture. You don't see fathers out there fighting against people putting their sons into dresses and things like this. We have a few cases on the internet where grandfathers heard about what was going on. The father either wasn't in the picture or the father was divorced. So the grandfather heard about his grandson who was, in a daycare and stuff like this. The mother, the grandfather's daughter probably didn't speak out or didn't care, wouldn't do anything, and or didn't want to do it, was scared to. So the grandfather goes in there and says something about it, and they did just about every single possible way to lie, and they threatened to call the cops on him, and he just wanted answers and just wanted to know what they were going to do and why they were doing this, and to explain themselves and to understand, their point of view, if they were going to change, and if this was some kind of mistake. You see, they're real quick to try to use the government against you. When you as a father or a mother or whoever should be suing these daycare centers for changing your child without your permission, especially if it's a son, who's old enough to change themselves, changing them into a dress and teaching them these kinds of things. Because again, these types of people are intentionally becoming daycare teachers. And some of these daycare teachers are teachers in public schools who were kicked out for their crazy beliefs, or they just really want to change and manipulate your children. So we're going to have a whole generation of upcoming people. The next generation, we already have the Gen Zs. Now we have an upcoming generation of people where the boys think it's acceptable to change their gender or identify as a boy or a girl or be a drag queen, and that's considered more normal. And then the girls can, 50% or more of them, of these girls are bi, and they can have their fun and play around and make all this money on OnlyFans. So, as you can see, this is a catastrophe. This isn't some this isn't this isn't some utopia. This isn't some like modern futuristic, beautiful situation. There's no love, compassion, and understanding. There's no good human interaction. Again, don't get me wrong, technology can do a lot to, have people connect with similar hobbies and similar ideas and have fun. And technology can be a beautiful, wonderful thing. But we should put limits on it. You should have friends in person in public. You should find ways to, do things that are personal for you. Everything you should do shouldn't have to be on the internet. Every time you think about something, it shouldn't be, can I make an Instagram post out of this? And again, it would be a little bit more acceptable if it was all, based on the users. What was popular was based on what people actually searched for and what people actually liked. But these algorithms and artificial intelligence behind all of this, they get to decide, how they want to mold society and what they want to encourage and discourage. And you can often tell what these companies will or will not do based on their advertisements as well. How do they represent themselves to the public? For example, one of the things you've probably seen a lot is, and I mentioned this, and AI listens, and they started doing exactly what I said they were already doing, and they did it even more. Was that they started doing more and more, commercials and advertisements and promotions of cat and dog videos, which of course have been very popular even before TikTok and all of this. But it's advertiser friendly. And if they can get more people, and I make this point because if they can get more people interested in watching and focused on really basic, child level entertainment and thought and music, then if they can make everybody the same, if everybody thinks the same, if people don't critically think or have reason or logic, and that's why they encourage people to have short attention spans. The average person these days can't even think because they want to watch something or see a new image or see a new thought or hear a new sound in 3 seconds or even less. Some people say it's less than 3 seconds. So that's one reason this video is not going to be terribly popular here today, because this is more of a podcast and I'm not showing you a bunch of images. And I could sit down here and I could do, hours of editing, and I've done those videos before, but they don't do terribly well on my channel. I'm not really exactly sure why. But my food for thought and my encouragement is that you and those around you, and maybe you could start making your own content as well. Start talking about why aren't we talking about the benefits, but also the possible negatives of not only the internet in general, but also things like OnlyFans, because this is going to become more and more popular. A lot of you, you wouldn't even accept that your children are being brainwashed by colleges, and a lot of you out there still consider colleges to be smart or intelligent or places where people are being trained to be not only good people, but you also think that they're places of high education and learning, and people there are reasonable and intelligent, and you think people at colleges actually debate one another in an intelligent and eloquent and genuine and considerate kind of way and things like this. And you're spending tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars to send your daughters off to, essentially become women who never marry, never date, and who have all kinds of relationships, They have lots of fun with all kinds of different guys and the girls. And then they're not going to get married. And then these boys are forgotten about and they're not funded. Again, 60 to 70% of college people who go to college now are women. And then in about 5 to 10 years, people are going to start screaming and yelling because, you know, you said there's no good men, because these women had ridiculous expectations, and these women were, you know, privileged and lazy and expected the best of the best, and their expectations are way too high. There's women out here that are average looking, that are poor, in bad health, etc., and they demand, you know, the best of the best men, the top 10%, the best 5%, even better. There's average women out there who are demanding men who make at least 100,000 or at least 200,000. He's got to be 6 foot tall, 6'2", 6'4". He's got to look the way they want to. He's got to act the way they want them to. He's got to speak a certain language or have a certain look. He's got to be a gentleman. He's got to be willing to pay for anything and everything. And then the man can't also, on top of all that, the man can't even have requirements. You know, that kind of man who should be able to pick just about any girl he ever in the world, or have multiple women. You know, he can't even have any kind of basic requirements. And these types of women are the same ones who laugh at you when you talk about men are being made as slaves. The taxes are taken. You know, men are taxed. Not only are men taxed more in a variety of ways, those taxes are allocated for women's benefit. You know, so men's taxes are taken away from them. Women's taxes are used on women, and the men's taxes go to women disproportionately. Not all of it, but most of it. So, you as a man have an opportunity now to try to, I guess, save a few lives. Save a few men. Again, a lot of the quote-unquote red pill people are trying to save people from stopping men from getting married with our legal system, which intentionally tries to destroy men, where the government and the lawyers and the women steal everything from men, which is good. That's important. We still need to be doing that. But the other part of all of this, if you're looking forward, if you're looking ahead, if you can see what's on the horizon, if you see what I see, if you can see what I see, I think that's how you say it. I think that you need to be trying to at least warn, I mean, whoever you can, friends or family, and again, people are going to outcast you. You know, there's a lot of people who will outcast you and disagree and hate you just because you don't love Disney anymore. People out there will still not recognize that Star Trek and Star Wars and Batman and Thor and Hulk and He-Man and Transformers and almost everything has been taken over by, you know, these modernist people. And you act like, and then these types of people still continue to tell you to just shut up. Accept it. Continue to go out there and work hard. Work for these corporations. Make these corporations more powerful, more wealthy, where they get to continue to mold society and tell you how to live and tell you what to do and control you and control your children and they control public schools and public libraries and music and Hollywood and government. And even if you get somebody in office, you know, even if you did vote for them and got them in office and fought really hard to get them in office, you know, they still pull the strings with the money. You know, that person wants to get reelected, or they want to be able to make some money. You don't think they're taking donations, these politicians? You don't think that, you know, when a new law comes up, you don't think that, you know, somebody's pulling their strings with, you know, allowing some kind of drug to be released onto the public that's for your health, or supposedly, and there's all those side effects, things like that. So, and everything else, like, you know, them controlling the information about how bad sugar is for you and things like this. Anyways, Um, I hope that you will, not only protect yourself and save yourself, but stop paying for women or stop paying for these things. I know what the temptation is like. You want some kind of friendship. Again, 50% of men are invisible to women. If you're an average looking man, even if you are 6, kind of cute or kind of handsome as a guy, even if you're fairly handsome, you can even be a 7. If you're not wealthy enough, maybe you're just not a little bit tall enough, maybe you're 5'10", maybe you're 5'11". If you're not 6 foot tall, and again, some people have made fun of me and tried to figure out who I am or anything. I'm 6 foot tall. I mean, I've had shy women, and I've had people try to get my attention, and I've had whole rooms of women been attracted to me and all this kinds of stuff. But that's not the issue. Again, trying to tear me down. I'm trying to put real information out here. And I'd like to see any of you give me your own opinions and thoughts on any of this, or even disprove me with the things that I've said, and the thoughts that I've had here, or in any of my videos. Because as this continues, again, more and more women are going to put their relationships, or really their bodies, on sale on the internet. So not only is it less effort, they don't have to worry about, keeping one man happy. They can get paid more money. They can upload videos or photos or whatever whenever they want. Sometimes they don't even have to show their faces. They can still keep their identities private. They can just send photos and things of their feet or whatever. And there's going to be less and less human interaction, physically and personally. And if you've ever gone on any of these sites and ever tried to talk to any of these women on OnlyFans and all this types of stuff, they really don't, a lot of them don't even attempt, or really don't even really try that hard to be a friend, or to try to, even flirt with these guys. But guys are so desperate. And again, we go back to these types of arguments, like when people used to insult the geeks or the nerds. The new terminology are the people who can't get anything from women, or can't get anything like that, and they're going to continue with this narrative, and they're going to keep pushing this type of thing to the point where, unless you're the wealthiest men, unless you're 6 foot tall, or 6'2", or 6'4", almost no woman would date you. And there's going to be women out there who would actually prefer to be, just on the internet, selling themselves. They're going to prefer that over even a relationship, even if the man was wealthy, or even a marriage with even a man who was 6 foot, or 6'2", or 6'4", wealthy, attractive, well-spoken, educated, had just the right looks, or the skin color, or the language, or the eyes, and all these other demands that women have. Again, women are far more picky than men. Far more picky. 10 times, 100 times more picky than men. Men are looking to find and date just about anyone they possibly can. They'd be happy to date. And men regularly, if we're going to rate people based on attractiveness and other factors, 1 out of 10, or maybe even 0 out of 10. I guess you have to be dead to be a 0, but we won't talk about the crazy people who are into that. There's men all the time who are 5s or even 6s who will date women who are 4s and 3s and even worse. And I watched a video just the other day where an average looking woman who was overweight, who was unhealthy, had a bad attitude, and seemed very uneducated, was demanding to have, she didn't talk about the looks of the guy, but she demanded that he had to be a lawyer, probably 6 foot, probably everything else, and he had to be making $200,000 or more. If he's just making $200,000 and he's not even making more and more money, he's not, this relationship isn't progressing. This relationship isn't going anywhere because you're not giving me more and more and more and more. And she's sitting there, and some people are making fun of her because they think that she can't possibly even, she's never dated, or she could never get that. A lot of people don't understand that a lot of men will date down. It's very likely that she's had at least one 6-foot guy. You know, a lot of these women, even if they're just a little bit cute, you know, if they live in one of these big cities, they might have gotten a sports star, a superstar, for one night. They might have gotten somebody famous. They might have gotten a lawyer. I have no doubt that, you know, this woman who was average, but she was big-bodied, and some of those people, or some people out there, really like that thing was a thingin'. They liked the twerking and all that. You know, if this person was, you know, willing to come over at 3 a.m. in the morning, I wouldn't be amazed if some lawyer, you know, hit that up. But some people still don't recognize that kind of stuff going on. And that's why these women have these expectations. No, we no longer, you know, we have a chain, multiple different cultures going on. On one hand, there's people who do Netflix and chill are extremely casual. But then those people who are very casual, especially the women, they assume that they could date or marry whoever they've just been casual with. But we've changed the dynamics. We no longer we've changed whoever you date or sleep with or have fun with. They're not necessarily romantically interested in you. They don't necessarily want to date or marry you or have a long-term thing or have children with you. Not necessarily. But you know, women out there inherently, naturally, and biologically still do want, you know, a relationship and possibly even the kids. Sometimes they want the relationship, but they won't even acknowledge in their minds because they're so programmed. They won't even recognize that they do want kids. And I've seen plenty of women, you know, they're in their prime. They're 20, 21, 23, 24, and they're telling themselves all the time, like, you know, don't commit to this guy. Don't fall in love with this guy. Don't have kids with these guys, because they want to go for their career, or they want to, you know, find the richer, better man. They're not going to settle. So again, women are going to continue to hold out, and men don't understand this game. I mean, not only do women have birth control, I mean, they've had that for generations. Not only are women's drives, you know, some men like to lie to themselves and act like women don't have any drive at all, but they do suppress their drive, and they are able to control it. And again, a lot of men, you know, they're not willing to, you know, take care of themselves, if you know what I mean by that. They're not willing to, you know, they think it's a shame on them, you know, if they don't have a woman, if they're not doing these kinds of things. You know, if they're not dating some woman, or if they're not having fun with a woman, or they think something's wrong with them. They think it's a real loss. They think it's a shame on a man or themselves if they don't have a woman on Friday night or on the weekend. But women aren't viewed that way. You know, a woman can hold out. You know, she can hold out as much as she wants or as little as she wants, and nobody even gets to know what she did or where she went. And no one's the wiser. No one gets to know. And you most certainly as a man don't get to hold them accountable or ask them their body count and all this kind of stuff. So, what can you do as a man? Well, it's not going to be easy. You're probably going to be outcasted. A lot of people are going to hate up on you. You know, a lot of people are going to make fun of you. They're going to write articles, but you at least have to try. If you do want a relationship, if you want to find a decent person, again, be safe, be careful. There's a lot of people take advantage of you in foreign countries, but you'd have much better chances if you went outside of these Western countries, outside of the US, and outside of Europe, probably in general. But another factor is you need to start asking the questions. And if they don't want to be open and honest and straightforward, you know, just don't deal with them. If they won't tell you if they have an OnlyFans or not, don't deal with them. If you have certain requirements on, you know, if they can or if they can't, That's not you controlling them. That's you deciding, what kind of woman or what kind of person you want to deal with. And if they're not telling you and being honest, I mean, they're the one who's being a problem, not you. You know, a woman can ask, a lot of women these days, the first question they ask you is what kind of job you have or how much money do you make. And there's something wrong with you if you don't tell them. And you can't, and these, and, the way things are going in the future, you're going to have to ask, ask somebody if they're an internet girl or not, because there are going to be some women who are more traditional. And even those ones who are considered more traditional aren't going to be traditional, because the ones who do want in-person relationships and they do want something physical, they can be bi, they can want something casual, they can want marriage, they can want polyamory, they can want just about anything. But there's going to be a large group of women, maybe half, maybe the majority, I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see how this progresses going forward. But a lot of these women are going to be internet girls, where they're not going to want, if they meet you, and if they do pretend to want to have a relationship with you, you're going to have to be paying an awful lot of money. And you're going to have to try to ask them, was that something you did in the past? Because a lot of these even traditional women, a lot of these traditional women who you might want to consider to marry, you need to figure out, what they're willing to do or what they're not willing to do. Again, back in the day, if a woman wanted to cheat on you or find a better man, monkey branch, hypergamy, whatever you want to say, she'd get on a chat room or AOL or something. These days, she could make an OnlyFans and she could hide her face and stuff. And she could have tons of money and she could have tons of validation. She doesn't have to be on TikTok. She doesn't even have to be on Instagram. She can have an OnlyFans or a website like this where it's pretty private. And she can have all kinds of little men who want, a relationship. They want some kind of friendship. They want something. And she can, pick and choose who she likes and who she doesn't like. And these men are throwing money at her, want to throw more money at her. And these kinds of men do want relationships. These OnlyFans is a way for these types of women to really find, men who are willing to put in more effort than Instagram. Again, some women these days, and this video kind of helps women out. If you're a smart woman, not all of your fans, not everybody who likes your video necessarily wants to date you or be with you. Some of them do. But if they go through the extra effort to be on your OnlyFans and pay for something, and they actually want to talk to you and actually be friendly with you, that kind of person is much more likely to want to have a relationship with you. And they're more likely to, you could take advantage of them. Or they could be the next best man. They could be somebody better. And again, some people say like, oh, these lawyers and these wealthy people, they're not on OnlyFans. There's some truth to that. If you're a multi-millionaire, I mean, you can hire escorts and all this kind of stuff, and you can have women throwing themselves at you, and you can have spinning plates, as they say, and you can have all kinds of women who are, just for the chance of getting married to that guy or having access to his wealth or his lifestyle. A lot of women, I mean, they don't even demand that they get paid, or I mean, they still want paid dinners, but it doesn't even have to be something like a daddy relationship or a baby girl or sugar baby or sugar daddy, however you want to call it. It doesn't even have to be that. But if you're an average guy, these like Tinder and this kind of stuff is dying out. Less and less people are using it. Women just use it for their own validation. They don't even use it for dating, really. Men are waking up, because if you're an average looking guy, even if you have a good job, even if you're trying hard, these women are just not dating you. These women have bad attitudes. They're not willing to work with you. And Again, I live deep into the South, and there's been country music stars and people who have said this area, and these people have some of the best women in the world, and you couldn't ask for better. This place is like destitute. There's like no good women anywhere. There's no one to date. Not only as far as numbers go, but they still have attitudes and they're still demanding. They're still loud. Most of them are still leftist, etc. I just bring that up. No matter where you go, even if you go to a foreign country, man, this is a whole new thing that's changing the world. Just like India is being taken over by feminism, most of these countries have been taken over by modernism. Your cultures are being cast out, by these refugees, if depending on where you live. And in America, your cultures and your people are being replaced and thrown out, by invaders and foreigners and the so-called immigration. It's going to be really hard for men in the future to not only find, if you want a marriage or a relationship, to find somebody who has a common culture, a common language, common beliefs, a common religion. And we're not talking about, people want to talk about social issues and social dynamics, and people act as if they care. We're about to have like a total apocalypse in regards to dating and relationships. And it's already bad. But it's about to become much, much worse. But for some reason we don't talk about these kinds of things. And again, I make this video. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, and I'm not trying to say that the internet shouldn't exist or OnlyFans shouldn't exist. There are extreme conservative type people who would like to ban this kind of stuff outright or completely. But ultimately, the only way that you possibly find somebody who's decent, or that you give yourself even a chance, is if you just start talking. And that's one reason I kind of speak out against MGTOW, because MGTOW just step away. They let these people, take control of your kids and your public schools and your colleges and your government. MGTOW people are just being silent. Some of you men who have been hurt and divorced, and you've been the good man and the reliable man, and you trusted society, you trusted women, and you believed, and you did the best you could. You were diligent and hardworking and honest and truthful, and you were taken advantage of. You are some of the best men out there. You know how bad this world can be to you. You know how bad people can be. And I think you should be, again, I'm trying to bring MGTOW back in a little bit. Because if you are out here trying to help people and warn people and do something, I know it's stressful. I know that we might not do that much. But if you can save at least one person, from going through the divorce courts like you did, or having these heartbreaks. There are men out here who are, there's no women around. They get ignored in person, and the only option modern men are going to have. I mean, imagine these boys out here that are 5 or 10 or about to become teenagers. The only way that they've ever seen and that they have heard, and they know that relationships happen, is people being wild and being dumb teenagers at public schools, or messaging a hot DM on TikTok, or trying to chat somebody up and get to know somebody on OnlyFans. I mean, that's our modern culture today. That's our culture. And if you don't try to influence culture or change culture, if you're just silent, you just walk away, you've kind of given up on, culture, our society in general. And I know society's given up on you. And I certainly know that. I've felt that before. Society certainly has given up on you, as men in general. But at least you can try. Maybe you'd find somebody decent. Maybe one day I'll find somebody decent. Don't know if it'll ever happen, though. And I'm just trying to wrap this up and give some food for thought. I'll give you one quick example before I wrap this up, men, at the Daddy Knows Best channel. I found somebody one time I was trying to talk to. Really, well, besides really some casual conversations with some Russian gals, and some people have told me some really crazy stories and I've learned some things from. The last time I actually had an ongoing conversation on the internet and, tried to start a long distance relationship, and, again, the internet's wonderful to try to find people who are like-minded, but this person had very like-minded to me. Lots of opinions and thoughts and feelings, and I thought she was very cute and all this, and she acknowledged that she liked me and all this stuff, but she still played games. She just still ultimately must have not had the right, all the same qualities that I have, or the same principles. If you don't act fast enough and possibly meet them, or try to meet them, or Skype them, if you don't entertain them, if you don't find some kind of way to, start giving to them, because women expect things like send them roses, this was a very rare circumstance that I had reached out to somebody through the internet, and they were actually willing to talk to me, and we talked for like a week. We sent 20 paragraphs to each other. But if you as a man, the social expectation is you have to start sending money or gifts, or, you have to do more than just try to build a relationship, or more than just romance. A lot of modern women these days, especially these modern women, they don't understand romance. In fact, a lot of these women hate romance, or they hate love, because they want things to just be casual. If you actually try to make something romantic or something, more than just physical, make it emotional, they don't like that. It's offensive to them. So, you as a man, I don't know, I'm going through the same struggles as you are. It's not easy. I don't know let me know in the comment sections below. What are you going to do to try to, possibly find somebody who's a friend, or somebody who's like-minded? These days, if you do find anybody who's halfway decent, their friends are going to be trying to change them. Even their mothers, are going to stop them and probably attack them, and stop them, attempting to stop them from being traditional, or a wife, an actual wife, not just a wife in title or name. There's people who are going to actively attack a woman who has, more than one kid, especially if you have more than three children, especially if you're white, in these major cities. You try to go to Quebec, or in Canada, and in that major city and all that, and I'd love to see footage of a attractive white woman walking around with 5 little kids. That would be fun. I'd pay to see that. Because people these days, what kind of world we live in. Anyways, is this some food for thought? Men, protect yourselves. Be very aware. I know a lot of you guys don't even want marriage, or don't even want relationships, but if you do, if you are a man out there who does want a family, I don't know what kind of religion you believe in, or what kind of God, or whatever you believe in, but skies above, heaven above, Odin, or whatever you believe in, may fortune favor you, because the world. I mean, I know that you're gonna need some luck. You're gonna need some help, and you're gonna. It's not gonna be easy for you. I mean, I literally, unless you're religious, and these religious men are being played as fools by the religion, and all this, and all the problems. That's a whole nother discussion. That's a whole nother video. But I don't actually know of almost anybody outside of religion. That's a whole different topic. Where there's people actually having like traditional relationships, and families and kids, and they're teaching them, and encouraging them, and they're being, taught good virtues and values, and they're being taught to fight and oppose like all of this, crazy modernist type of, teaching and brainwashing and conditioning, and through the music and the Hollywood movies and the public schools and all of this. Gonna be tough to find one. Might be good to find if you are a guy watching my channel. Some people make fun of the homeschooling people. You might want to consider doing that, and might want to consider finding a girl who was homeschooled. I don't know where they are. You might want to try. People make fun of them and say that they're awkward. I don't know, maybe they are. Most of them I've met are pretty reasonable people. I don't know. Maybe that's somewhere to start. Do I need to make a dating a dating app? Homeschoolers only? Just like farmersonly.com. Anyways, I'll let you go, everybody. Have a good one. Let me know your foods for thought. Let me know your opinions and your thoughts, and tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm crazy down below. I'll see you soon. Have a beautiful one. Have a good day. Peace out, and bye.